Greetings from St. Moses the Black Sacramental Mission here in Asheville, North Carolina. And today I'm making a short 5 minutes of Gnosis video for you where I want to talk about an amazing book that I've been reading by a really wonderful author and artist named Lawrence Karuna. The book is The Hidden Passion, a novel of the Gnostic Christ based on the Naj Hamdi text. This book is beautifully written, it's fascinating, and the author tells the story of Christ and the apostles, but he uses tons of quotes from the Gnostic scriptures to make up the dialogue between Christ and his followers. And through this, he lays out kind of a general modern interpretation of the proto-Gnostic myth, which is something that can be hard to access if you're not familiar with a lot of these old texts. And so Lawrence Karuna's book is a really amazing way to get into the mythology of Gnosticism. It also occurs to me while reading it, at the same time I'm reading that, I'm reading Elaine Pagels' The Gnostic Gospels, and in the chapter on the controversy over Christ's resurrection, Pagels quotes a lot from the early church fathers who felt it was their mission to hunt out the heresies of the Gnostics. And one of the things that they complain about the Gnostics, and here I quote, is that they imagined that they themselves had discovered more than the apostles, and that the apostles preached the gospel still under the influence of the Jewish opinions, but that they themselves are wiser and more intelligent than the apostles. Another great criticism of the Gnostics, particularly the Valentinian Gnostics, is that all of them were constantly writing new gospels. Irenaeus, one of the early church fathers, complained that the Gnostics had an untold number of gospels, that not only did they accept the synoptic gospels, but they had this huge amount of gospels, and they were always all writing gospels. And this was seen as a great criticism against the Gnostics. But I would say, as a modern Gnostic, I find it one of their greatest strengths. I come largely from the background of Tibetan Buddhism, where they have these things called terma, and terma means hidden treasure. And the mythology is that the ancient Buddhas hid these treasures in people's minds, and that these treasures were teachings that would be revealed when the time and circumstances were correct for their revelation. Whether we accept the mythology that the ancient Buddhas were hiding treasures in people's minds, or if we look at this as a clever way for the system to always be getting updated with new teachings, either way it has kept these traditions in Tibetan Buddhism that use terma very much alive and vibrant. One of the most powerful modern Gnostic thinkers is Miguel Conner, and if you haven't checked out his amazing podcast, Aeon Byte Gnostic Radio, I highly recommend it, and I'll put links to it in the show notes, as well as links to the book The Hidden Passion. But one of the things Miguel is always saying is that it's time to write our own gospels. And I would say that in The Hidden Passion, you have a modern gospel of the Gnostic Christ and the Gnostic Mary. And through reading this book, you get a sense of who the true God is beyond God. And I can't really think of a better way that someone who is looking to get plugged into the current of Gnosticism, you can't go wrong getting this book. I highly recommend it. It's beautiful. I thought of reading some passages from it, but I'm not going to. You should get the book and check it out. Maybe I'll read some passages in another video, because just as promised, this was 5 minutes of Gnosticism, and that 5 minutes is always up, is almost up. So like I always do, I leave you today with the ancient Hindu blessing. May the Holy Spirit lead you from darkness into light, from ignorance into knowledge, and from death into immortality. Until next time.